Beginning of 2022, we made the decision to move our family to a place where we could grow our homestead. We currently lived in a neighborhood with an HOA that had rules and regulations that prevented us from growing in a way that we were hoping to. We had a less than a quarter-acre backyard with beautiful, lush trees that we developed into a homestead with our garden. I started seeds that year, even though we knew we were going to be moving later in the year, but I just couldn't resist a little bit of extra chance to grow my knowledge in gardening. So we began to say goodbye to some of their favorite things. Something that I knew I would miss was this view outside my bedroom window. Each morning I would open the window and get in a breath of fresh air as I listened to the birds singing and let the sunrise shine on my face. It was a very peaceful moment, and I loved just looking at those giant trees. Moving from Virginia, where there are lots of trees, to Utah was a bit of a change. I wanted to harvest our garlic before we left. It was a little bit early, but I couldn't leave without picking it. I had planted it a year before that, and I had to bring it with me. It looked so good. So I picked it and I braided it before letting it dry out, just hoping that it would make the move across the country and that I would still be able to use it. And guess what? It is now January of 2023 and I'm still using the garlic. We took time to slow down and really enjoy the things we loved about where we were living. We made sure to really relish the backyard that we had made into something that we loved. We put in a nice fun swing for the kids. We created a mud kitchen where they could pretend to bake goodies and brownies and soups in the mud. And we had to say goodbye to our garden. It was hard to say goodbye to this little garden. There were tomatoes starting to grow, broccoli heads were forming, onions were growing, strawberries were growing, and here the kids are picking some raspberries that were just starting to grow. Things started to get real as we sold our home and we're getting ready to make the drive across the country. I decided to give our car a really good cleaning to have a clean slate before driving for 5 days straight. I drove at 36 weeks pregnant with our 4 other kids in the van by myself while my husband drove the moving truck. We said goodbye to our first home and hit the road. We drove for about 5 days and averaged between 6 to 9 hours of driving each day. I thought I would dread this moment, but honestly, I cherish the memories that I made with my kids on that drive. We finally made it to our rental, and it was hard knowing that we would have to unpack all of our things into this rental only for several months before moving into our next home, but we did it and anxiously got ourselves to see our property. We purchased the land for our future homestead without seeing it or visiting it. We knew the area somewhat, but it was so exciting for our family to finally be able to be there in real life and imagine our family living there for many years to come. We had no idea how beautiful the view was going to be, but it really was such a treasure to see. We got out and explored. It was quite a windy and dusty day, but the kids ran around imagining the play that they would experience in this backyard someday. Things felt a little unreal watching my children explore and grow in a place that I had imagined for so long. We still had a long way to go before our family was ever going to be living on our property, so we decided to distract ourselves by taking advantage of the beautiful nature that was around us. There are so many hikes near where we live, which is part of the reason why we chose this location for us to live. And so we spent the rest of the summer exploring, hiking, and just getting outside. I'm grateful that our home took a little bit of time to get started because it forced us to slow down and to really enjoy the nature that was around us before diving into homesteading projects that I know will be, knee deep in as soon as our home is finished. Though we did find ourselves taking advantage of a sale that we saw on some fruit trees. And so we picked up about 8 fruit trees that we are currently storing in our rental backyard until we can plant them in the spring. We also picked up some free strawberry plants that I trimmed down and threw into pots and that we would plant in the spring. Another thing that I did to keep myself distracted and busy in hope and waiting for our home to be built was to learn how to can and to preserve foods better. I had done some preservation, but I was really trying to up my game. So I got over 50 pounds of fruit and I canned apples, pears, strawberries. We made some applesauce as a family, and we canned some jars of pears. I didn't realize how much I really liked pears, so this was a treat. And in fact, we only have 1 jar left of pears, so I know that in the future that canning lots and lots of pears will be something our family will enjoy for a long time. Not having a big garden was really hard for me, so I grew a few things here or there, but once it started getting cold, I decided to turn my attention to indoor herbs. I love cooking with fresh herbs, so that was something I've been able to keep myself distracted with. Not only did we grow plants, but we were growing another baby. Our 5th baby, Douglas, was born this year, and he has been a true delight. Pretty much the center of attention at our house. He had a smooth delivery, and I'll link above his birth story, but it was so good. All the kids treasure having another little baby brother. Each day we would drive over to our property and look over to see if there were any trucks or vehicles working on our home. And one day we finally saw an excavator parked outside our property, and he was about to take down this giant dead tree. So it was really fun for our family to be able to watch that ginormous tree get knocked over. And the sweet driver asked us if we wanted to keep the tree. So if you see in our videos a giant dead tree in the back of our yard, we said yes to keeping that tree. And it's been so fun for our kids to be able to climb on. And just like that, the hole for our home was dug. It was wonderful weather this time, and each evening brought beautiful sunsets. So we found ourselves visiting our property almost every chance that we could. The kids loved climbing the dirt hills and riding their bikes around. I absolutely loved making plans and dreaming up what our future homestead was going to look like. It seemed unreal that our dream was finally becoming a reality. Once the hole was dug for our home, it seemed like the pace was really picking up at which things were getting done. And the next week, they had the cement truck there pouring the cement for our basement. There were construction workers there daily. It was so fun for our kids to see the process of our home being built. The basement walls were up, and we could see that they were getting ready to pour the floors and the patios and front porch cement, and the next week it was finished. It was fun to watch our kids play here and imagine us actually living here someday. Next week we saw large piles of wood outside our home, and they sat there for several weeks. We anxiously waited to see when our home was going to be built, and after Thanksgiving we came to visit, and our whole house had just popped out of the ground before we even could see it happening. This was truly one of the most exciting days for sure, just to see our actual home up and something that we could actually walk inside. It was so exciting. For some reason, I have had the hardest time believing that what we are doing is actually happening. Moving here, building our home, and growing our homestead, and growing our family here in this place that we've dreamed of for years. I just thought it was never going to happen, but we decided to make the decision to make it happen. And it is. Here it is. It's happening. When you know something is right, it's hard to resist moving forward and doing it, even if it feels a little bit scary. But the decision to move our family out here, to build a home, and to grow our homestead, and to grow as a family has been such an exciting adventure. Our goals for the upcoming year are to establish our garden. I will be starting seeds this year, even though I'm not quite sure when we'll get to move in. We will be planting rows and rows of berries. We'll be planting our fruit trees and hopefully getting a few animals on our homestead. We really look forward to becoming stronger as a family as we unify and accomplish our homesteading goals together.